Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the workshop. It is fantastic to have you here as ever, because we are working on a sword breaker. Today is part 9 of working on a sword breaker. In yesterday's episode, I threw some bevels on this thing. It was a difficult throw, but I managed to land it right on the edge.
He threw it very, very well, which is good because British people don't play baseball or football. They do play rugby. That doesn't really count as a sport, though.
Bevel ball.
Bevel ball.
I was trying to think of a bevel ball joke. I don't have one. But before we continue making progress, I'd like to very briefly thank today's sponsor, which is Paragon. They make the heat treating ovens and the kilns that we use here at the workshop. They are all about allowing you to have the most repeatable results possible in your workshop. So be sure to go check them out at the link in my description at the end of the video and learn more about these phenomenal pieces of equipment. Let's jump right in.
All right, guys, I'm back, and I'm back for a little bit of handstanding here. I'm gonna be working on this ricasso area. Alec already got a fantastic start on the bevels and handstanding. I'm gonna start cleaning up just the grind lines in here. It is the absolute hardest part of the knife to hand sand because you hit that wall and you can't just take nice long strokes to get past it. So it's the challenging bit, and I'm gonna go ahead and tackle it. We're done handstanding on the blade for now. Alec pointed something out that I hadn't spotted before I left, and that is that this slot right here is about 10 thousandths too far that way. And so what I need to do now is fit the blade up to the guard, and I'm going to be taking all of the material off of this side so that we're hopefully moving that slot down just a little bit. And after we're done with that, I think the best course of action is we'll know how much material we have to take off of this side to make that thing nice and centered in there. It's really apparent to the eye right now, but very soon it will not be apparent to the eye because it will not be there. Alright, so we're going to talk about burrs for a second, but you know what? When we're talking about burrs, it gets a little bit cold because, you know, burr. So, the reason that we're switching to burrs and using burrs now is that right now we've got ourselves a cross section. Our guard looks like this. We've got a slot in here, and then the one that goes all the way through for the tang. Now, the actual shoulders of the blade sit about right there, so I've got to carve out all this material. And that is not very easy to do with a hand file, believe it or not. So we went with a burr. Now, it's actually very unintuitive to try to use a round object to get straight lines on tight corners and stuff like that, because it's physically not possible. But what we do have is a very hard steel blade and a very soft steel guard, which means that what we can do is we can get really freaking close, even though there's going to be a little bit of a round chamfer on the edge, and the actual edges of the blade, as we drive on the guard, will kind of chisel that material down. And so the only place that we really need to have a square shoulder is at the very top of the guard up here. Everything in here can all be nice and round. It doesn't really matter too much. We can actually relieve those corners with a ball burr so that there's not going to be any contact, and we're only getting contact in the center in here. So we're going to head upstairs, and we're going to use the micro motor and the air hand piece up there to get in a little bit tighter and a little bit more precisely underneath the microscope so we can get that perfect fit. All right, we've got that guard hammered on. It is nice and tight and recessed. Now it has a little bit more to go. I think I could probably hammer it on more, but I'm gonna see where we're contacting and hopefully I'll be able to fix it. Make sure that it's gonna slide on just a little bit easier next time. I'm gonna have to dress the top of this guard. I went a little bit wide, got a little bit aggressive with my filing, which is not what you want to do. And the burr slipped in a couple places as well. So I'll lightly peen over the top of the guard before I surface it off again. And that should end up having it look really, really nice with a good tight fit all the way around. So let's knock this thing off. There we go. Oh, good deal. It's got a good ways to come down. Oh man. Not quite certain how exactly that happened, as it broke while I was hammering on the wood. What I can see, however, is that it is not a new break. I can see that there is some rust happening in there, so it probably happened a while ago and it just kind of blended in. Either way, that's no fun, but we're planning on welding some all thread into there anyway, so it shouldn't hurt anything too much, but overall it does suck. I'm gonna have to grind that back so it's nice and flush. In other news, we've got the guard driven on a pretty good amount. We're gonna grind this back, we're gonna knock off the guard, we're gonna keep on moving forward while wearing eye protection the whole time. It's looking good, but I'm still seeing a burr in there from it catching and pushing down material in a weird way. Now I'm pretty sure I had it sitting all the way flush against the very bottom. I'm gonna go ahead and fit it up again and draw a Sharpie line so that I can really tell where it was. The truth comes out. We were not sitting level on one side. We gotta take more material off of that side. Well, I got the guard driven on straight, but it's just so darned hot here in Montana. I sure do wish there was a way that we could make some ice water. Back to work. All right, we got that angle out of there. I think it's now sitting with full contact on those shoulders, which is exactly where we want it. No weird slope anymore. You can see that that Sharpie line gets cut in half, which means that it went from sitting like that to sitting like this, which is what we wanted. It is now time to fill in those gaps up at the top there. I'm going to do that by using a really, really small ball peen hammer. Now, the reason that I've switched to using a ball peen hammer is that when I was filing on this guard, I filed just a little bit too far on one side, which means that when it was fit up, there was a gap. That's not good. That's not good for anybody. Moisture can get in there. It looks bad. It's just bad. So what I did is I took this little ball peen hammer, and the cool thing about this is that you can hammer it kind of close to it and actually move the top of that, the top layer of the surface of that material, and close up that gap. Now you can see how far it bent in, and it means that I can file that back and still have a good fit up. It means that I have to take material off the top, which is a little bit of a compromise, but it's certainly worth the end result of having a nice tight fit up all the way around. Ball peen hammer is a really great way to achieve that fit up if you did in fact mess up in the first place. So gonna go ahead and do that. A couple layers of peening and sanding until we have the fit up exactly where we want it. Let's finish this thing off. So I was sitting here staring at this, and most of the way through polishing off the top of it, and I was looking at it, I was like, you know what, that looks a little bit crooked. And I was right, unfortunately. Hate it when that happens. This guard is sitting on here crooked. The D-ring here is sitting a little bit down, sloped down. So we need to address that because that is not what we want. Let's go ahead and drive this thing off. Take a look at the inside there, see if there's anything that we can remove. But before we do anything, we're gonna soften that tang because we have got one hard tang right now, as you guys can see by the fact that it, cracked earlier. So we're gonna draw that tang back real quick, and then we will address the guard problem. All right, there we go. We've got a nice gray temper all the way down the tang. That will no longer snap, it'll bend before it breaks, which is what we want when you're, parrying. You gotta like catch the blade. You don't want your tang to snap off, not your snang to tap off. Both of those would be bad. One of those is real. So now we're good and let that set for a second, and then we'll go ahead and work on that wonky guard issue. It's flat too. Okay, that's flat. The blade is flat. That means that our issue lies inside. I can see one area where we're rubbing down below. That could be causing the issue. Let's remove that material. Let's go upstairs and remove some material. Okay guys, we've got the side here that we need to remove the material off of, and when we look inside, we can see the shoulder has been cutting in this and scarring away, so we're not actually quite hitting the part that we want to be hitting it, which allows us to have that weird cant going on. So I'm going to turn on this tool, and I'm going to remove any material that's getting in its way down here. Nailed it. Better. Still not quite there though. We are not contacting on the sides anymore, but rather this is now what is hitting. It means we got to take some material out of there. That's pretty dang good. I think I'm happy with that. Ooh, we're getting lots of contact. Very good. I'm gonna break down those shoulders, the very square points of those shoulders, just a little bit more, just so that we're not roughing up the guard if it gets slapped around at all. I'm just gonna take a diamond file to do that real quick. Round them out. Nope, belt sander. Diamond file doesn't touch those very well. Right now I'm going to go ahead and finish out the front and back of the spine of the blade, this ricasso area in here, just because I want that to be at a high grit pre-etch, and then we'll do the absolute final fit up of the guard after the etch so that we have the absolute tightest fit up possible. Look at that! You guys can't see the important part that I've been working on, but it looks fabulous. I keep on saying fabulous. I couldn't tell you why. I never use the word fabulous. We'll just forget about it. The point is that the video's over because I've got it nice and fit up and sanded and stuff. And we'd like to thank today's sponsor, which has been Paragon heat treating ovens.
We're hugely grateful to Will making such great progress on the sword breaker so far. We're ending the video with a quick thank you to today's sponsor, which is Paragon. Now they make heat treating ovens as well as electric kilns for all sorts of industries. They've been in the game for a long while. The one that we're looking at here, this is a KM24 Pro. This is a knife making oven that features these ceramic baffles with embedded elements. Now this means that it gets up to heat very fast, also is extremely accurate and long lasting. This 24-inch version has 3 thermocouples, ensuring that you don't just have the right temperature in one particular area of the oven, you have the right temperature the whole way down the oven. That increase in accuracy is phenomenal. But those ceramic baffles also do this. They mean that compared to the traditional material that kilns or ovens are made of, you have a huge increase in efficiency, which means once it's up to temperature, it's using way less power to stay there. A huge thank you is owed to Paragon for sponsoring this episode, being a sponsor of this show. So please go and make sure that the next kiln or oven that you buy is from them. Thank you, Paragon. We're very, very grateful. Check out their website to see their whole huge lineup of fantastic products. See you all on the next one. Bye-bye.